Hello and welcome to this new video. In this new video, we're going to see how you can set up an external PostgreSQL for your self-hosted AppFlowy. So the prerequisites for this setup is that you need an AppFlowy Cloud that is deployed using Docker Compose. You need an accessible external Postgres server. You need the connection details to this external database. And the first actual step is to set up the network and firewall configurations. So you want these two machines to communicate over the internet. So you have to allow traffic to flow between them. So I have already done this. Already I have enabled traffic from the port 5432 from this IP address. Now this is the private IP address of my AppFlowy virtual machine that I have self-hosted. I am able to use the private IP address because both of these machines are inside a private network, which is highly recommended that you do. And you can see on my AppFlowy virtual machine as well. As you can see, my AppFlowy virtual machine is exposed to the internet because it allows traffic from the port 80 and port 443, and it also sends traffic to port 5432. Okay, now the second step is an optional step, but I highly recommend that we actually follow through this step because this is going to enable SSL TLS communication between our AppFlowy and our Postgres machine, right? So if we don't enable SSL, then anybody can actually snoop in our data that is being communicated between these two machines. So you really want to set SSL TLS. You can go to the official documentation to read more about how it works. Now I'm just going to follow these steps and get it done quickly. What we are going to do basically is we're going to generate CA certificate, generate a private key, generate a public key, all on the PostgreSQL machine. And then we will move the certificate to the AppFlowy machine so that it is able to verify that. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this step here and I'm going to go in my Postgres machine and I'm going to paste that. So it will create a new directory. I'm going to set permissions so that the Postgres user actually is the owner of this. So I'm going to do that here. Make sure to create a Postgres user if you don't have it. Then I'm going to enter the bash shell and then I will paste in this command to get inside the SSL directory, as you can see here. Once that is done, I am using OpenSSL to generate a certificate key, authority key, and then I can actually generate a certificate as well. So this is a self-signed certificate. Of course, you can use a certificate from an authority or something. Now I'm going to create a private key. So I'm going to paste this command here and now it's done. So I can do ls and you can see 4 files are newly created here. Copy this, paste it in, certificate request, self signature. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, everything seems cool. Now we can exit the Postgres user. Now moving on to the next step where we have to enable the SSL configuration inside our postgres.conf file, and we have to update our listen addresses to the Postgres virtual machine. So for that we have to go in this directory. So make sure to replace the version with the correct version number. So I'm going to say cd, as you can see. And here there's a postgres.conf file. Now I can actually get inside that file. So let me do sudo vim, and here I have to paste the IP address of the Postgres virtual machine. Okay, or I could use a star as well. Here I will paste in this, and now I will search for the SSL. Okay, so I've got the SSL configurations. Let me just uncomment these, and you want to replace the file path with the path where you have these files newly created, right? In your case it might be different, so you have to make sure to change that. Okay, so all these configurations are done. Let's just save this file, and now you have to also edit the pghba conf file to allow an SSL connection from the AppFlowy virtual machine to your Postgres machine, right? All these rules are here. Now let's go in and add this line here. And here I have to replace this with the actual IP address of the AppFlowy host machine. and this new rule is actually added. Now we haven't created the AppFlowy database and the AppFlowy user yet, but this just means that allow host SSL connection to AppFlowy database for AppFlowy user coming from this IP address and encrypt all the communication using the scram SHA-256 method. And let's add these two rules as well. So as you can see, I have added the host no SSL from the same machine, reject communication if it is non-SSL, and then I'm rejecting everything else as well. And once your file looks like this, you can actually save it and quit this. Once you have done that, then you can actually restart your Postgres cluster. So I'm going to do that. It is this service is running and it is active. Okay, wonderful. So the next step is again on the Postgres virtual machine that you have to install a PG vector extension. You have to install this extension because AppFlowy requires this extension. We have to install it before we actually connect and do a migration, right? We will just use apt to install this. So I have the 16th version, so I'm just going to copy this example command here. And I like to go in the root directory. Let's run this. So once this extension is installed, we can actually start PSQL as the Postgres user, and then we can go ahead and run these commands. So for this example, I'm going to use the same password as here, but in your case, I highly recommend that you use a much more secure password, right? So the user is created, the database is created. Let's connect to the AppFlowy database. You're connected, and now let's do these steps really quickly. So what we are doing here is we are creating a schema called auth for AppFlowy user. We are creating PG crypto, UUID, OSSF, and vector extensions, and we are giving all the permissions related to AppFlowy database to the AppFlowy user. And you can see all the commands run successfully. Once they have run, we can actually exit PSQL. Okay. Now, in order to verify the certificate, we need to copy the certificate and put it on the AppFlowy virtual machine. We are just going to check that file here. So I'm just going to do a clear, and then in the Postgres machine, I can see the certificate here, and I can just copy this. And for now, let me go inside in my VS Codes, and here I can create a new file, right? I can create a new file. So I will just paste all the content. And now I need to go in the AppFlowy machine and follow these steps. Paste this in. Once that is done, I can do this. I can create the directory and set the correct permissions. I have to create this new file. And simply I will paste all the content that is here. I will paste it and I will exit. Now let's set permissions for this folder. Okay. And then we can also do this by the certificate. Okay, yeah, so looks correct. So now moving on to the next step, which is backing up existing data. If you have currently existing data in your self-hosted AppFlowy machine, then it is likely to be living in the Postgres container that you have set it up with your Docker Compose. And if we migrate it without backing up, then you will lose all that data, right? So what we are going to do in this video is we're going to use pgdump to actually make a backup, and then we will restore that backup on our external or dedicated Postgres machine. Okay, so let's go to the AppFlowy Cloud directory, and once we are here, I can do docker ps/a, and actually I can show you that I have created some data here, so that once we restore it, we can verify about civilization history. There's a Kanban board, there's page references here, there are these pages as well, right? So now we have to execute the pgdump command inside the Postgres container. So I have already copied it and I have already pasted in the container ID of the PG vector container, which is the Postgres container. So I will be able to create a AppFlowy backup SQL file. And if you see that all the files that are available, you can see a new AppFlowy backup SQL file is created. Now the next step is where we verify whether a connection between the two machines is successful or not. So I'm just going to copy paste these commands, which is going to install a PostgreSQL client on our machine. You can check pSQL's version. Yeah, seems correct. And then you can actually run this command, which will test the configuration. And here I have already pasted in my command. So I have set it up AppFlow user as the user. I have entered my password here. I have entered the private IP address and the port number here, the database name here. And this is a very important flag that I have added in the URL parameter, which is the SSL mode required. Now you can use a much stricter SSL mode such as verify or verify full. Now I can just copy this. Keynote here: if your password has any special characters, then you may want to use URL encoder on that password so that it is valid. Okay, so I'll copy this command. I will go in my AppFlowy machine, and inside my AppFlowy machine I'm going to paste it, and you can see that I am successfully connected to the AppFlowy database as the AppFlowy user on this host. So this means our SSL setup is successful. This means that our database is accessible from this AppFlowy machine. Now moving on to the next step. In this step, we will update our env file to use the external Postgres database. So we'll update all these variables. So I want you to go on your AppFlowy virtual machine, and then from here I want you to edit the env file. Okay, I just want to replace them with the actual information about your dedicated Postgres machine. So nothing but the host IP address, the username, the password, the port number, and the database, right? And for convenience, I'm going to create this new variable which doesn't exist in this env file here. As you can see, the purpose of creating this variable is to add this SSL mode require flag at the end. Let me just zoom in this a little bit. Because we have a SSL enabled, that's why we are going to add this parameter. Okay, I'm just going to copy these variables from here. Let me copy that and paste these new lines. Okay, now our next step is to change a lot of variables that use this database URL. We have AppFlowy database URL. Now this is perfectly fine, but we have rejected non-SSL connections, and this does not have the SSL parameter. Therefore, this will be rejected, right? And here you can see if your password contains special characters, then you need to use them in a encoded format. All right. So I have already changed these variables. So you can see I already have replaced it with what value I want. And similarly, I have used this wherever I require this database. Okay, so for the go to database URL, I'm going to use the newly created base configuration. Now in this file, let me just copy this here and let's search here that variable. Now you can see here the URL ends with the question mark and then the parameter, because this is the only parameter in this case. But our base const string actually has already a parameter. So then that is why I'm going to use an ampersand sign to add this parameter to the existing parameters. So go to database URL is set and the parameter is kept as is. Then the AI database is going to use the new connection string. The database AppFlowy worker is going to use the new connection string. Okay, so I have already done this, so I will just copy this file. I will paste this file in, and then I can exit this file. Wonderful. Now the next step is that we have to make changes to our Docker compose. So I'm going to open this up here. Now rather than me doing it here, let me just grab a file where I have already done it to save you guys time. It's the same file that I copied from the server to the VS Code, and now here I have commented the Postgres container. Then what I have done is I have mounted the volume which contains the CA certificate for the SSL communication. So I've mounted that volume to whichever container requires that, right? So that is your go to. So in go to, I have added it. I have added it in the AppFlowy Cloud as well. So you can see AppFlowy Cloud has that volume added. I have added it in other such as AI. I have added it. Yes, you can see here I have added AI for AI, and for AppFlowy Worker also I have added that volume. and also for the search, I think. Now, another step that I want you to do is, a lot of our Docker containers actually depend on the Postgres container, the internal Postgres container, right? So they will have this kind of condition which says, yeah, as you can see here, depends on Postgres condition to be healthy. Because we have commented the Postgres container and it is not going to exist, so this condition is not going to evaluate to true, and therefore go true will never start. So we don't want that. So wherever we have Postgres, you can simply remove it, or you can add the go true itself, right? So in my case here, in the go true configuration here, I have removed the depends on check, as you can see, right? It's not there. And for everything else, to be safe, rather than removing it completely, I will replace it with the go true check. Once go true is successfully connected, and once it is successfully able to migrate our data, then all the other containers can definitely run very easily. Okay, so for example, I think AI container. So AI container requires the Postgres to be in a healthy condition. So I have replaced that with go true being healthy, right? So that I've replaced that condition. And the same I think I've done in the AppFlowy worker as well. So here you can see Postgres health check is being done, and here you can see I've replaced that with the go true health check. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. I'm just going to copy this Docker Compose file, and I'm going to replace all the content here with what I just pasted. Okay, so I'm going to save this. So this is another optional step. If you made a backup of your data in the previous step, then only you can perform this. Basically, we have to, using our connection string, we have to restore our AppFlowy backup on the dedicated Postgres machine. Okay, so I'm just going to go here. I'm already inside the same folder where the AppFlowy backup is there. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this part and I'm going to paste in here, and then I'm going to copy the /f part. F stands for file. Here I'm going to paste it and I'm going to run this. Now you can see a lot of things are created. There could be a lot of errors as well. So for example, yeah, user permission errors could come here, but we can ignore them. But everything else seems to be healthy and done. So tables are created, indexes are created. So this means that the backup is actually successfully created. So let's go ahead and deploy our new changes. I have already made sure that none of my Docker containers are running. So you can see none of them are running. And what I can do is I can restart all the Docker containers from here. So now you can observe that the Postgres container should not be running. Okay, let's check the logs for our go true service actually, and see if it was able to successfully complete the migrations or not. You can see go to migrations applied successfully. Let's go ahead and kind of log out of this thing, and let's log back in if we to check whether we will be able to access it or not. So I hit the same URL, and you can see all my data is backed up and restored successfully. All my data is successfully restored. And how do I know that this is actually the external database? Because in my Docker containers, my Postgres container is not running, so it is using the external database. Let's also check inside our Postgres virtual machine if everything is running. So here I am in the Postgres machine, and I will start pSQL. And once I have done that, I can actually connect AppFlowy database. So I'm going to say AppFlowy DB, and you can see I'm connected, and then I can see whether new tables are created or not. So you can see a lot of AppFlowy related tables are created here. So yeah, that's it. That's the video, and I hope you were able to follow along. I hope now you have a dedicated Postgres database set up for your self-hosted AppFlowy. If you run into any trouble, let me know. If you were able to follow along, let me know as well in the comments, and subscribe to the AppFlowy channel for more such updates.